back to the fashion nap. Today, I might have someone who makes gowns, can you tell? This week, we are speaking to Brian de Carvalho. He is a Demi Couture sensation. Brian is young in the game, but the influences are from the 18th century. I cannot wait to learn all about the skill, the construction. Like, there's just so much going on here and I want to know everything. So I'm going to stop talking and we're going to get straight into this episode. This is me in editing. I just need to say thank you for your patience, because from this point onwards, you're going to hear a lot of where my blog is at, typing and clicking, and there's a little dog running around. We are lucky enough to be able to use the Bricks magazine studio, to record these episodes sometimes, and that day it was a working studio, so we tested it out. Didn't feel that loud at the time of recording, but now looking back, you can hear some things. But I feel like me and Brian had such a natural flow, and I just think you can't fake the funk. Like, if we did it again, it's just gonna feel stiff. So I'm sorry guys, and I love you. I'm on my way to interview Brian de Carvalho. I'm so excited because he actually dressed me. I wore a skirt of his for my show studio panel. And when I was at that fitting, like, we were chatting so much, but his designs are so interesting and he's such a character. I just had so many questions about his brand, but I purposefully didn't ask them because I wanted to save everything for the interview, because I knew we were going to do the interview at the time of the fitting, so I was really holding back from just like grilling him on his whole journey and brand story. So I'm finally going to go and get all the answers that I've been looking for. So let's go and meet Brian. Also, I cannot wait to get rid of this straight hair. The dress that I'm wearing of Brian's today is so amazing, and I just felt like I envisioned it with like a straight, like pin back hair. I cannot wait to just wash my hair and go back to normal, even though this was my idea. Welcome to the show, Mr. Brian de Carvalho.
Hey.
We are wearing head to toe your looks.
Yes, we are.
And I feel so bad. When I said that we were going to do this interview, I was like, we need to wear gowns.
And I was like, how
like,
big?
I feel like in my life, I have never had any like opportunities to wear gowns.
Why?
I don't know why. I never go to any gown like places.
Girl, Sainsbury's is
No,
a gown place.
true. But I'm like, why do I never go to any balls or anything?
I get what you mean.
Like,
I get what you mean.
and you see all these people in their boring outfits going to like so many balls. I'm like, why does your life
Very
have
nice.
so many balls in it? It sounds really bad now.
Stepping up to the plate.
And mine doesn't. That would be a really like bad sexual innuendo sound clip. But I just feel left out. So I was like, right, today is a gown day.
Yes.
And I feel like this is maybe my new look.
Oh, I love. I mean,
Yeah.
it works, honey.
It works. Anyway, enough about me and my big problems. How are you?
I am good, my love. How are you?
I feel great. Let's just jump into the questions, because I have a lot of questions to ask you. When did your awareness for fashion begin?
It's quite strange because I didn't start wanting to do fashion. I didn't start with that as an intention. I feel like I was always aware of it. So when I was little, I was very picky about what my parents would dress me in, and I was very picky about what they would wear. But you know, when you kind of do things and you don't make the association. So I didn't do it being like, oh, I'm doing fashion or I'm into fashion. It was just, Mom, those shoes don't look cute on you, or like, Dad, you shouldn't wear that shirt, it's not nice. And I would do those things for so long without realizing. But it wasn't until I was like much older where I kind of find myself looking into fashion, going to museums and galleries and really looking for it and trying to hunt it down. And that's where I kind of felt like it's definitely something I'm interested in, but I just never knew what I would do within it.
But I feel like that makes sense with your aesthetic. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but if you're starting to look in galleries and museums, like, was the historical influence kind of always
Oh my
there?
God, massively. I mean, I have a fine art background.
Okay.
So I studied fine art at Westminster. Before that, I was meant to be a radiographer, so like very not fashion. Stereotypical immigrant parents wanted me to either be a doctor or a lawyer.
Where are your parents from?
My mom's Brazilian and my dad's Italian.
Okay, right.
My mom was very much like, you have to do something, you know, that will bring you money, or you have to do something secure. I did really well in secondary school for science, so she immediately was like, doctor. I almost did it. Like, I got into uni, I was meant to start, and like the week before I was like, no, it's not for me.
So it could have been a very different outcome if in that week you didn't just go for it.
I ended up doing a fine art degree because too afraid to say I wanted to do fashion. I also wasn't out at the time, so it was very much like a a cop-out way of doing what I wanted to do without actually committing. But I think that's why I'm very into like sculpture, I'm very into paintings, probably why I always go to a gallery and a museum. It's where I feel most at home.
What was then the steps from doing the fine art and admiring the fashion side of things to actually starting your own brand?
I mean, I obviously did my course like normal, graduated in 2019, and like COVID was like immediately after. So graduated and was like, I'm free, I can now finally do what I want to do, like I can pursue fashion whatever way that might be. I was under the impression I would have done like styling or something. A lot of people used to stop me about my outfits and they liked what I wore. At that point I had never made anything anyway. I would just personalize things, so I'd crop a t-shirt or pin something.
Wait, you had never made anything?
No.
Around the time of COVID?
I made stuff after uni, so like when I was
What year did you graduate? I'm just trying to
2019.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and then
this
COVID.
is very impressive.
Yeah, COVID happened immediately after. Like I think I graduated and like the same month it was lockdown. So I moved back home, and then during COVID was where I taught myself how to sew.
I'm like blown away.
Thanks.
Because the stuff you make is so complicated.
I mean,
We're wearing just a few of your simple looks, the ones you can sit in, right? But I've seen some of like the big drama gowns, like they're no joke.
I mean, they're pieces I've always like loved. Like when I was in uni and stuff, going to galleries, I would love a Galliano dress. I would love a McQueen dress. I feel like I'm very into big theatrical, like wow pieces, but I guess I didn't have the courage to make them until I already had my brand and we already were like a year deep.
Okay, I understand not having the courage, but there's like this thing called talent. That like, like what I'm saying is like, to teach yourself to sew to that level in the space of like what 4 or 5 years. Yeah. Sorry, I'm off the questions now. This is like insane.
Thank you. I mean, I don't know. I think I still have that little like thing in my head of like, you're not a fashion graduate. Like no one taught you this. Like you're nowhere near where you should be. That kind of thing. But I think I'm slowly getting into the point of like, I'm creating my own aesthetic and I'm doing things in my own way. And if people say it's very sculptural and artsy, fair, like I have a fine art degree, so why not? I think I'm slowly drifting away from it has to look like Dior, it has to be as good as McQueen, it has to be, you know, to this standard.
Well, McQueen was like training on Savile Row, like
that part.
since he like came out the womb, you know what I mean?
Literally.
No, I'm really like, I didn't expect you were going to say that was when you started. I thought maybe you started your brand and you were going to tell me maybe like you'd sort of sewed as a hobby before that,
or because like
you helped like
uni,
some like.
Yeah, no, they were hella against it. Like in uni, I wanted to do fashion and like explore it because again, still didn't know what I wanted to do. But they were always like, fashion isn't art. Fashion isn't a form of, you know, art or whatever. And I would try and force it in. I would use fabric, but I'd have to make a sculpture out of it and be like, fashion is sculpture. But they never let me make anything. So it wasn't until literally lockdown where I had the time, where I was like, okay, I buy a little sewing machine from Argos. I'll like teach myself something simple. But the first thing I made was a corset, like idiot, seriously.
This is like.
Took me a week. It took me forever.
Yeah, but I think a week is like not bad,
no,
right?
but like not like waking up at 8 a.m. like shifts. She did 9 to 8, and it was every day for a week.
Well, this is what you call drive, right? I love this. Like, okay, we need to get back on track because I could just be sitting here being shocked all day.
Still don't know what I'm doing. Just to tea.
No, you do know what you're doing. Thank you. No, none of this negative self-talk in my, aka Bricks studio.
Yes. In the presence.
So your design style is very grand, very theatrical, as you've said. What drew you to this specific way of designing?
I mean, when I began making pieces, it wasn't to have a brand. It was, I wanted cute clothes. I wanted to wear stuff that I really loved but couldn't afford or couldn't find. A lot of my friends at the time, they were either drag queens or club kids, and obviously some of them were much bigger than me and taller than me, and they couldn't find women's clothes that fit them or that was flattering, all that kind of stuff. So my intention started with that. I was like, how can I make us cool stuff that we all want, but that fits us and that works for us? So the reason I made a corset was because I was so desperate for one. And at the time you could only get like the little waist trainers from like Amazon and stuff, and like they're wonderful, but they're not great. It was like, you know, when you're like touching what you want, but you don't actually get to where you want. It was very that. So the very first thing I did was, how can I find like a Victorian corset? How can I find either an old beat up one from a charity shop, or like how can I find like someone online who makes them or something. So that was literally the very first thing I made because it was what I wanted so badly. So again, it wasn't I want to brand and I want to sell these and I want to have like loads of people wear my stuff. It was just I want something cool that I've always wanted and my friends can borrow from time to time. That was it.
Did you start to pick up recognition then from like your friends maybe performing in your clothes and your name kind of got around in that way, or was there a different way that...
It was very strange because, again, it was lockdown. So
of course.
We couldn't go out, we couldn't do stuff, we couldn't, and like, for the very, like, the longest time, my brand existed online only. Because, like, yes, people wore it, people did things, but I was never able to be there. I was never able to see it. So I kind of lived vicariously through the pictures. But I would ship stuff to friends' houses and they'd do shoots in their bedrooms and then they'd ship it back, and that's kind of how it worked at the start. It was quite weird.
A lot of people that I'm talking to at the moment, it seems like that's when their businesses started.
Yeah,
which is I'm like, wow, a lot of these brands and these people that I follow and I like the work of, their work is a lot younger than I realise it is. A lot of people really use that to their advantage.
Yeah, I mean...
There's like a flip side of like the horrors of the pandemic. It's like a lot of people kind of refocused and are now doing something they really love.
Oh, don't get me wrong, like I definitely got really lazy. Like, don't get me wrong, guys. But
just getting up from 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. making a corset for a week, so lazy.
She did that for a week, and then once she made the first sample, she was like, damn, we made one. Well,
you have to enjoy the fruits of your labour, right? As you've said, you started designing for your friends, a lot of them are like drag queens and performers. When I look at your website and look at all of your like Instagram profile, one of the main things that I notice, which I love, is that all genders really wear your clothes. And it just, you know, sometimes you can see it, people posting things in a very contrived way.
Yeah.
You can see it's just very natural, it's just very like the natural essence of your brand. Do you see more brands moving towards genderless design?
I mean, yeah, short answer, yeah. I mean, when I started it, that wasn't like a thing I was going for. Obviously, I am male, and I make predominantly women's wear. So I guess naturally that kind of happened anyway, because I was making for myself, and I was making for other male friends. So I guess naturally I was already kind of blurring the lines there. But for me, clothes are clothes. And what's more important is that you're comfortable and you're happy in what you're wearing. And that's kind of how we started. It was, I wanted something that made me feel different and cool and comfortable. But it just happens to be women's wear. I think obviously with social media and like with like just the world in general, we've all kind of learned to kind of let go of that a little bit. Obviously you have massive fashion houses that still do things in the classical way, but in terms of brands coming up, I think it's more and more genderless, and it's like you wear what you wear. At the end of the day, the clothes are made to be worn, who cares by who, kind of thing.
I think as well with like collections now, even when it was like men's week, half of that is like women's wear, and you see people mix and match, and I just think that's kind of like the way, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the times they will use like the hype from a women's fashion week to promote the men's and vice versa, and like again, like it slowly becomes more and more blurred. If you think about your favorite celebrities' fashion sense, they probably wear women's wear or men's wear or vice versa. Like, I mean, everyone's loving Harry Styles and he was wearing whatever he wanted at one point, so I don't think it's not that it doesn't matter, of course it matters, it's an important thing to talk about and to discuss, but I think people are slowly becoming less and less pressured around it, and if you want to wear a skirt, if you want to wear a blouse or a corset or whatever it is, you won't get shut down for it, do you know what I mean?
This kind of flows nicely into another topic, which is you actually had your first London Fashion Week moment.
I know, crazy.
So soon into your career as well, like
Gaggy.
yeah. What he said. We spoke a little bit off camera.
Oh.
And you were telling me that you actually had the most diverse catwalk at Fashion Week.
Which is quite funny, because again, it wasn't intentional. You can tell nothing's planned, guys. For me, it was important to have the models represent my circle. It was our very first show, it was my very first catwalk ever. On top of that, it was on the Fashion Week schedule, so it was like pressure. And in my head, I was like, if I am to become like a household name, this is the collection they'll always reference. So I want it to be like as me as possible. So I wanted the venue to represent me and the brand as much as it could. I wanted the models to look exactly the way I wanted them to look. I wanted them to be the type of people that I would love to dress. So it was important for me to have people in different sizes, different genders, different ethnicities. We had like almost half of the cast was trans. So for me, that was like important in the sense of like, this is who we are and this is what we do. And it's not to gatekeep and say only one select few can wear the clothes, or only one type of person can wear this. It was more to kind of be like, we are open and we want everyone to enjoy it and have fun. And like, I don't know, like clothes is not that serious to me.
I say this, I'm like, guys, like,
yeah.
Two things from what you said. The first of all is, when you say it's not intentional, I think when you are a person that's like part of a marginalised group, you don't think, oh, like, what's the diversity statistics here? It is just more organic and more natural. And it comes through that this is just like your brand and this is what you represent and this is your crew. And I really loved seeing all the models, that look through the lookbook. It also shows to other brands, like, it's not that difficult. Like, I mean, that's a whole nother episode, but it's really not that difficult. You see these statistics coming out of catwalks and it's like, maybe there's like 2 black girls and they're like, that's diversity, and probably one of them's mixed race. They have like no trans models. Maybe 1 plus size girl.
Which is insane, because I'm like, some of the most stunning people I've met are trans. Like, some of the most 100%. Insane face card, no decline trans girls. 100%. And I'm like, what's the tea?
It's quite cool that you were the most diverse show without even knowing it, and then it's like, okay, now there's a standard here that people should really have to rise to.
I also find it a bit like, I am like a tiny fish in this giant pond of fashion. And it's like, you have brands that have the resources, have the money, have the capacity, and they literally choose not to.
Yeah, it's a choice. Like, they could have, some of these big companies could literally have any person they want. Even people that's not really interested in fashion, if they were asked, would you want to come and do this fashion show, they would probably say yes for the experience, right? So it's like, you have any choice of any person and you choose 25 white girls.
Yeah, literally.
Cool.
Literally that. But then that's why I was a bit like, when that came out and people were talking about it, I almost was like, really? Like, I was quite shocked and surprised by it. But again, I didn't have the intention of like, I want this number of black girls, I want this number of trans people, I want this number of, whatever. It was just, okay, I need 25 people.
Yeah.
I would like a range of people. Like, I have friends that look like this, I have friends that look like that. So I would like that representation.
Well, that's it. When you see these write-ups and people are like, wow, it's like, have you been outside? Like, do you see the population of this country? Like, because that is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Like, these people don't just exist on the catwalk. Like, they have lives in the world. Another thing that I really liked about your answer to that question is there's a rogue chihuahua on my train. Hello, brother. Is that you said, if, but I'm going to say when I'm a household name, this is the collection people will reference. And I love that you think in those big terms. I think that's really important as a creative person to kind of have that confidence.
I think it's definitely, I mean, I didn't have it when I did the show, I won't lie. But I think it's definitely something more recent. A lot of my friends and a lot of like people I work with are always like, you talk so badly about yourself. Like, you talk so bad about your brand and yourself. You always put yourself down. And I think I'm slowly trying to rewire my mind and get over it. Again, like touching base on like, I have a fine art background and that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
I think that's impressive, actually.
Yeah, and like at the start I would be like, oh, I'm not a fashion student, I'm not a fashion graduate, or like, I don't hem my pieces and everything's raw edged and it frays and this and that. But now I'm like, but that's what makes us us.
Yeah.
And other massive brands do that. You have Margiela that does that and everyone loves it. So I've been slowly learning to let go of the fact that I don't come from a fashion background and I don't come from a fashion circle, and that I should respect the work. Like, regardless of like me as a person, I have a team and like people spend hours and days making these pieces, and it's a disservice to them for me to be like, oh, I'm a fine art graduate, I don't have fashion experience, it's okay.
No, absolutely. I've never heard anyone actually explain that in that way, like you're actually dissing your team as well.
Yeah, because I'm like, they work so hard and I love them so much. Yeah, it's still chaotic to me that anyone would ever even want to be anywhere near my stuff, let alone
Oh,
help
shut
me.
up. We're ending the conversation now. I'm bored, Brian.
Decline.
I don't want to hear this nonsense anymore. And you've dressed like some good people as well. Not good people, you know what I mean? Like, so you've dressed some names.
Yeah, we've
Like,
been
people want to wear it, right?
I mean, thanks, guys.
Like, you're obviously doing something right. And I think the whole, like, you know, hem and all of this, I don't think, I mean, I'm saying this as somebody that can't sew and is really just now commenting on something that's not my field, but I'm going to lord my opinion about it, I don't care. If it looks good, who cares?
That part.
Like, the whole point is it's meant to look good, right?
That
So
part.
there are a million ways to skin a cat, and not hemming the gown is one of them.
Yeah.
Like, I look good. I'm going to hem on here. Which period of history inspires you the most then? Because I'm sure there are many.
Oh, I mean, 18th century, 100%. When I began with the clothes, the connection that I made was women in the 18th century were so restricted physically and, like, you know, politically, emotionally. They had to wear corsets, and it was like layers and layers and layers. They couldn't, you know, ride bikes up until one point. They weren't allowed to have their own bank accounts up until one point. They had no rights. They had no say.
The bank account thing was still 50 years ago.
Exactly. So I'm trying to be polite. I'm trying to be nice. I made connections in the sense of, like, they had those restrictions then, and us as queer people, we have certain restrictions now. And that's where I made the connection and I made the link. So I was like, okay, a corset is a physical restriction. Like, even if you wear it loosely, you can still, like, every time you take a breath, you can feel it pressing on your chest, you can feel it hugging your waist. And that's where I kind of made that connection. And I think that's why I kind of always go back to that time frame. Because I always feel like there was that restriction, but at the same point, it was so beautiful and so grand and so, like, lush. But, like, some of the most iconic designers in the world were first that time. You have McQueen, like Galliano, you know, Westwood. So I think it's definitely a point in time where everything was really grand and decorated and, like, boisterous. And, like, now, granted, like, it's getting better, but the average person will wear jeans and a t-shirt. The average person, you know, doesn't need to be so grand and so exuberant all the time.
The parallel there, actually, that you've drawn is really profound.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was really weird because I was kind of looking into that time period and, like, looking into the clothes, because obviously I was trying to learn. And I was like, oh, like, they weren't able to bend down, they weren't able to breathe, like, they weren't able to eat more than a certain amount of meals because then they couldn't fit in their clothes. Or, oh, they had to physically have a team to dress them because they couldn't even dress themselves. And I was like, oh, that's similar to, like, how I can't do this or I can't do that and I can't currently do this and do this. Especially in lockdown, it's like I can't leave my house and go out. Like,
Yeah.
So I feel like my brain automatically made those comparisons. Not to say that they're remotely similar, but, like, I was like, oh, they're restricted in that way. We're restricted in this way.
And in terms of the physical restriction, I think that's why Vivienne Westwood was such a baddie. God rest her soul. Because when you hear her speak about, not to just go off on a tangent, but when you hear her in interviews speak about, like, corseting and, like, the way she forms the body, it's never restricted the way she describes it. She's always like, wow, this part of the body is so soft, it's the perfect part to be malleable. And, like, I think it was quite cool to see, like, her as a woman designer reframe that in her way, but then also to see you as, like, a queer male designer reframe the corsetry in your way. Like, there's so many ways you can look at that, as you said, beautiful but very, like, questionable time period. So,
and it's like, even the pieces that we make currently, they are patterned after an 18th century stay.
wow.
So in that time period, you would wear, like, a big cotton dress, like a nightie, and you'd put on your stay. The stay was your very first, like, layer. So you would sweat in it, it would stain, you'd wear it all day long.
And they didn't bathe.
No. And the corset was the last layer. So the corset was the thing at the end that was pretty, but it actually didn't do anything. So even though these, we now call them corsets or whatever, they're technically stays.
Wow, I did not know
which
that.
is why you're able to, like, move and bend and, like, exist in them. But if I made a standard corset, you wouldn't be able to, for sure.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever made a look that's, like, got all the layers?
No.
Well, that's why would you need to? I'm just intrigued, like.
The closest I've come to that is the silver gown of this. That's the closest. And, like, that was a dress that I wanted to make, like, since, like, before uni.
Was that the huge one that I saw in the studio?
I was like, oh, one day if I ever learn how to sew, I'll make, like, a Dior Galliano dress. And, like,
Put a
that was
picture of it, because that is, like, phenomenal.
I love how the phone matches the dress, too.
Just like in the 18th century. Who would be your dream person to dress, apart from me?
Oh, I was gonna say. Oh God. I'm such an airhead. I'm like, who? I mean,
You could have multiple answers because I know how hard it is.
I mean, Beyonce. I don't think that's really needing.
Yeah, who would want to?
Like,
oh, sorry, Beyonce. Actually, you're not on brand.
We're busy right now. Sorry. I just think she's such an icon. Apart from the fact that she's a massive, massive celebrity, I just think her as a woman is quite iconic. I think that what she does for like her team and her people is incredible. I'm not a woman. I'm aware of that. I'm a white cisgendered male, so I have my own privileges that I benefit from. But like, I think her as a black woman, like even at her status, the stuff she has to go through is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think it's hugely commendable. Like through all adversity, she's like, even though I'm a massive celebrity and I'm a massive artist, I still have to fight to get a stage the way I want it. I still have to argue with people to get the lighting the way I want it. And I just think she works like a machine. It's insane.
Yeah.
So that would be incredible for me. Like on a personal level, even if she just wore it like for a personal thing that no one find out about, I'd be like, she approves of us, and that's important for some reason.
What advice would you give to somebody wanting to learn Demi Couture construction?
I mean, just do it. Just go for it. The way I learned was going through charity shops and like costume stores and like buying stuff and taking it apart. There's patterns online, there's things you can buy, and there's training programs and stuff now. Obviously, I didn't have that in COVID. But like, if you want to do it, why not? Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't. Things take time and things can be hard work and stressful and whatever, but if you genuinely really want to do it, like, I think now more than ever, it's like the perfect like circumstance to do it. You have so many resources, you have so many people willing to help, and so many like different areas you can pull from. I mean, me, I only had my fine art background and then the internet during COVID, but like now you have TikTok and Instagram is what it is, and like people are offering courses, and there are designers like me that like they do workshops and they teach and stuff. So
well, that's good to know that you do workshops too.
Yeah, and it's like the more you can take in, like the better, because you'll start liking someone's work or like a specific aesthetic, and within that you'll find yourself and like you'll find your own way. And it's like, how everyone has a favorite designer, but ultimately they make their own work. Like, that's kind of how you do that.
I read yesterday that Missy Elliott,
Love
my favourite couturier, Missy Elliott used to, when she was working on her album, she would not listen to music until it was finished because she didn't want to get influenced by any other sounds. That's wild. But
I get that.
You can hear it in her work.
Yeah, I get that, because I did the same for like Instagram and stuff for a while. Like I just stopped it because I was like, I don't want to subconsciously copy someone or like subconsciously take something without realizing and reproducing it. So I get the importance of like wanting to be unique and wanting to be individual. Granted, what I do isn't insanely groundbreaking. Like it has existed since the 1800s, so it's not that
Yeah, but
crazy.
when you see it, you can recognise it's yours.
Yeah, which
So-
is also quite crazy. Like I'm quite proud of that. That people are able to immediately be like, that's a DDC piece. I think I kind of got that really early on somehow, but I don't know if that's just because I kept making the same stuff.
No, you have to reframe it and say it's your signature.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't use words like that here.
So I was like, but it's quite nice because every time something happens, everyone will send it to me and be like, is this yours? And I'm like, I didn't know that was happening. Yeah, it is mine. So
That's a good sign.
yeah, it's quite nice that I'm able to make a distinct look for the brand. Like it has its own language and its own tone. I think it's very difficult to do that. You have massive brands that don't do that, so I'm very, very lucky that I can.
So while we're dishing out advice, what is the most valuable thing you've learned since you started your brand?
Don't undervalue yourself. It's something I'm currently learning, but I'm slowly realizing, because I was so, I'm not a fashion designer, I'm not a graduate, I'm not a this, I'm not a that I let a lot of things that shouldn't have happened happen. And I think I should have given myself more respect, like more substance, in the sense of like, you're producing the work and people want the work. Whether you think it's good or whether you think it's appropriate doesn't matter, because they do and they want it. So I think definitely like value what you do and respect what you do, because ultimately if you don't, no one else will. And you have to love what you do. If you feel like you're doing something and you're forcing the situation because XYZ person or XYZ thing, then that means it's not for you. And it means it's not meant for you. If you're not loving at least part of what you're doing, you shouldn't really be doing it.
It's true. Will you be showing at Fashion Week again? Should I not have asked you that?
PTSD! Oh my god, everyone's been asking, which is so crazy. I didn't even think anyone was going to come to the first one.
Was it busy?
Oh my god. Capacity was 200. Apparently we were over capacity. I didn't even think 50 people would come.
That's amazing.
I remember literally day of show, and like the venue manager was like, people are already here, and I was like, I didn't think anyone would come. I was like, we're doing this for the socials. I was like, we're gonna put the interns in the seats. We're doing it for the socials. Oh, Prada, I love you, babes. I love her. So when I had the show, I didn't think anyone would come. So to see that so many people want another show and so many people want to come in September is major. I won't lie, it's very expensive. So it depends on the money, won't lie. I would love to. Maybe we might do something maybe not as grand, or maybe grander, who knows, you know.
Buy some gowns, people.
That part. We did 25 looks.
Wow.
In February, so the expectation is that we would do that or more. But that's insane. I'm a small emerging designer. I'm not Dior, I'm not McQueen, so I think I need to...
Listen, quality not quantity. Like
that part.
If you get 15 looks and they're amazing, then be grateful that you saw it.
Yeah. Like so many people have been like, when's the next show? Like I want to come. Like there's people in America trying to book flights to come to this, and I'm like, guys, I don't even know if we're doing this, first of all. But it is insane to think that that many people are so interested and like want to come and support. So I'm still like mentally adjusting to that.
If there's one thing you'd want people to leave this interview knowing about your brand when they think of BDC, what would it be? What's your parting message?
Oh God, I feel like Oprah.
Pressure.
I don't know. I feel like we are for the people. The whole point of the clothes is to make people feel great. Yes, they're theatrical. Yes, they're dramatic, and it's a lot, and it's not for everyone, and that's fine. But it's like, my main purpose is for every person who wears the brand to feel incredible, and that's it. Whether that person is tall, short, black, white, male, female, whatever, I want you to feel amazing, and that's it. As long as we're achieving that, then the brand is doing what it's meant to do.
Well, listen, I feel sensational, so mission accomplished today. You can cross that one off your calendar. Thanks so much for talking to me. I learned so much about your brand.
Thank you, me too.
That's what I love. I'm like, oh, I learned something today. Like, your story is wild, actually, that you've just started like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, literally yesterday.
Like, it feels like it. Like, what, 2019, and now look, like, you're so. I just can't believe that was the day you picked up a sewing machine.
I mean, yeah. I can't even. I was gonna try and be like, actually, no, it's not.
No, that is gonna be on my mind for the rest of the day. And I'm sure anyone listening will feel the same way.
Thank you, my love.
Have a fabulous day.
No, you too, please.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh. I hope you got some value out of that conversation. I had so much fun talking to Brian. He's just such a gem, and he's so talented. As always, like, comment, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. Honestly, it helps so much. And I will see you next week. Bye.